Hey, my friends, how are you doing? Thanks for joining me today. I hope you're having a good time. It's the what is the English word for that? The first Advent? Erster Advent English. How is that? What do you say to that? First Advent. Yeah, that's it. Let's hear it. First Advent. All right. That's what's going on today, apparently. All right. How are you doing? Let me. Oh my, the chat is way over here. Way over here. We gotta fix that real quick. 1 second, and then also my Black Friday sale is going on. Let me know if that makes sense this time. What I prepared for you. There we go. Hi, Eric. Thank you for joining my live stream. Hi, Jens from Germany. Eric from Vienna Meidling. Same city as me. Woo. All right. Also, I have to quickly fix here something. But use the chat to write and communicate. And today we are going to talk about what is good photography. So that's the question today. Also, that was the question for what do you see as photography in the weekly challenge. So we will read through that, discuss that. This is going to be very interesting. I just need to where's my timer here? There we go. Okay. Let me see. So we have to go here. And then let me restore the chat real quick. Yo, what? Why was there... What did you send? There was a message that was retracted for some reason. I don't know what that is. Chaplin, hi from VA. What is that again? Can't remember. What was that? Victoria? No, that can't be. That's Australia. I don't know. Tell me, Martin. Hi from Canada. How are you doing? Let me think. What is what I wanted to do here? 1 second. So this is off. Let's turn the sound off here too. That is good. And then, oh yeah, here we have the link, and I want to put the link into my chat. There we go. That would be good if that works. There we go. All right. Boom. So that should work. I can also put it in the chat right now. Probably it's coming later too, but here is the... Oh, I can make it sticky now. Maybe that's a better idea, but now you have it. Yeah, now you have that, and I can look at the chat fully. There we go. Boom. Okay. Virginia. There we go, Virginia. Okay, that's awesome. Cloud Strife from California. Hi, how are you doing? Peter from Ontario. Hi, thanks for joining. Pretty awesome to see some people here on the on First Advent. That's really awesome. And yeah, so today we're gonna talk about what is good photography. Like, could be any kind of thing, right? I wrote a little bit also in the description of the video. There's so many different definitions of what it could be and what people think it is, and there's all these kind of the golden age, right? It's always kind of a golden age. And it's always, I think the golden age is always the age that your parents have lived through. Like when your parents were young, this is usually your golden age, right? Or when you were young. It's like that. Well, what is the golden age for me? I don't know, to be honest. I don't think it's the 80s, to be honest. Maybe a little bit before that. When was the Kubrick movies? When did they come out? That stuff? I'm not sure. Let me see. 2001? Space Odyssey. When did that film launch? 1968. There we go. So this was a little bit before I was born, and there was a lot of cool stuff around that time. But I didn't live at that time, so I don't know. Anyways... There we go. Should we switch over right away to the weekly challenge? We can start reading these posts. I have to find it first, of course. 1 second. Oh, also, yeah, the camera. What was your first camera? But we have already had that in the Facebook group, right? Also, thank you for all the people who joined the group. All right, there we go. So here we have that. We can close this, and then we have... I thought more people would write a comment, to be honest. It wasn't that money, but that's okay. We still have a conversation here. Let me see. So Chipe says, hello, Olivio. Oh, thank you very much. That's awesome. And that I can check out the stream. The first time that you can check out the stream. That's awesome. Daniela from Uruguay. Hi, how are you doing? Thanks for joining. Jens says, although I was working in America, I don't know. Do Americans have also the tradition to drink Glühwein, hot red wine with spices? That's right. Do they do that? Is that an American tradition or not? I think I've never seen it. Did I? Is it in the movies? I'm not sure. Okay. Cloudstrife says who do we consider the modern masters today? Editing, retouching wasn't like this today, so they count as masters of what? Editing and retouching wasn't like it is today, so do they count as masters of photography? Yeah, that's an interesting question, for example, right? On what can be done and how much should be done, stuff like that. Like they now have the request that photographs, especially portraits, like advertisement pictures, are marked if they have been edited or not. Like especially like the anatomy, so people don't think, wow, this person looks so great, and in reality it's just Photoshop, right? Arthur from Nanaimo, BC. What is BC? BC, what could that be? I don't know. You have to tell me. Anyways, let's go here to the, let's switch over to, man, if I don't stream so often, I forget how to do that stuff. Work life, there we go. Okay, so now you can see my screen, and there we have the first one from Russell, and he says, so here's a picture he took of his wife, and then when you take a picture as you expressed, Olivio, it's your deep perception of and feel what. Sorry, I have to. We're very bad at reading right now. Sorry for that. Let's go. When you take a picture as you expressed, it's your deep perception and feel that you want to transmit to the reader. This is a picture of my darling wife, married in 1975. Wow, that's even before I was born. That's a long time to still be married, right? That's awesome. Congratulations to that, by the way. And I'm still in love and passionate. I hope it shows. Okay, awesome. That is really interesting. So this is about deep perception and the feelings, to transmit these feelings to the reader. That's interesting. The how do you say in English? You don't watch a picture. You look at a picture. Because in German we have a word for that. It's kind of the same word if you watch TV or if you look at a photo. It's like you say look at a photo, right? It's ansehen. Yeah. All right. Interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. Let's go to the next one. So we have different positions, and you can also write them into the chat. Oh, wait a second. The chat is very small. We have to resize that real quick. How did I do this last time? 1 second. There we go. Now we have the full chat, so you can see that. I probably will also sometimes pull it onto the screen. Daniela says, I have a question for today's vlog. What is considered fine art for today's photography? For me, this is kind of tricky. I see many very retouched or even composed photos called fine art. Are you sure they are called fine art? Or, I mean, you probably mean people like La Chapelle, stuff like that, who do a lot of editing. Also, Jeff Walt does a lot of... it's part of that, right? Fine art is... are you German? Yes, I'm German. I'm from Germany originally, and then I've lived in Vienna for like 20 years or something. Over 20 years, actually. Fine art is its own category. So that's a little bit different from... what is photography or what is good photography, and I'm still divided in the sense of, well, how could you say, is photography used by fine art, or is there fine art photography on its own? You know what I mean? Like, that's a little bit difficult to decide, because photography is always bound in a certain way. I mean, video is bound too because it's also camera, but it's different. I think video has gone through more abstraction and distancing itself more from the medium than photography did so far. There is some abstract, like monotone photography where you don't see anything. It's just like a color and stuff like that. But it didn't went through a very extreme process, I feel like, right? So also fine art is more of a form of philosophy or science, right? So there's a discourse, there's a global international discourse, and fine art is kind of working inside of that. So it's different from the rest of stuff that's going on. But that's probably not what you meant by that. I'm not sure. Let me know. CMD Plus is for expanding your screen. CMD Plus? What are we talking about right now? Wait a second. I should push this over here maybe so you can... now it's overlapping. That's... Sorry for that. Masters today. Okay. Yeah, so we can talk about that. I mean, editing, like... Why wouldn't it be part of photography? That's like, think about it that way. Like, if a painting is like completely made up, it's art. Why wouldn't a photo, if it's altered in a certain way, not be art, right? Or why wouldn't you be a master if you edit something? Like, for example, with film, they do a lot of editing. They even now don't really have a background or anything, sometimes not even actors in the scene, but it's still art as a movie, right? So I would ask it from that way, is it possible if that it's done? And if it's possible and it's done at the same time, you have basically the answer, then yes, it can be done, right? And of course, the question is still, is it done good? And is it necessary? And what does it do for the picture, maybe? That's my position on that. By the way, let's read another one of those here. So this is from Sabine. Oh, I put on, I was so cold before, now I'm super hot. 1 second. Oh, God. Let me put off the jacket. Oh, no, I caught myself. Okay, I have to stand up. Sorry. Wow. There we go. Okay. Whew. All right. Good. So let's go. The next one is from Sabine. Let's open up the picture and then we have the original. And Sabine says, great idea, just finished a photo. I live in a small village in Portugal and see the area around like a child. Flowers and birds, houses destroyed, a new world for me. I lived before in the north of Germany, and photography helps me see my new homeland. I hope my pictures enjoy the people in my new village and show the beautiful places. Edit the picture with Affinity Photo and Nik Collection. Okay, that's interesting. So, wait a second. This is the picture. Wow, that's edited quite a bit. And then this is the original picture. So I suppose it's meant to be altered that intensely, but I'm not sure. Because this now looks like these are golden, like doors in a Inca ruin or something like that. It's very different from this farmhouse that has been deteriorated over time, right? Oh, by the way, I forgot about that. We can have a setting for live captions. We need to do that next time. I don't know how to do that. All right, so we have different protocols. So I would say in a certain way it's also like expressing yourself, but also like seeing, which is interesting, seeing the world through pictures. Photography helps me to see my new homeland, which is interesting. Which is also like how a lot of people use photography, right? To capture everything around them and then see the world through the pictures that they have taken, which is an interesting way. And also because you have your personal own perspective in the pictures. That's an interesting way of looking at photos, right? Interesting enough, like if you say helps me see my new homeland, it's interesting that you alter it at the same time a lot. So I would need some more information about what you're saying here. So do you see it in the way, like, do you try to find it in the way it is, or do you want to see it in the way that you imagine the world around you, which is also okay. Like we all make up our own version of the world, what the world means to us, and you can also do that through photography. Let's go back to the chat here real quick. View and viewer. Oh, okay. One of my favorite artists is Rembrandt. Inspires my retouching often. Interesting. I think a lot of people like it. Sorry, I overlapped this again. There's also something called the Rembrandt light, which simulates the kind of light he's in his painting. It's a little bit more dramatic and brings out the features of a portrait. So he has a lot of influence on these kind of things, right? Daniela says you wanted to see Facebook better. Press Command and plus. I wanted to see Facebook better. I'm not sure. Do you mean like set it full screen? Is that what you mean? I think it's good enough like it is right now, right? Let's read through another one here. Let's close these down. So we have Jonathan says, I need to give a bit of background on this topic. I worked in a shop where I'm always hurrying and where I'm not able to take the time I wanted to take to do things. It doesn't matter if it's regarding dealing with customers or finishing a piece of work. Time pressure is always there. Wow, okay. Sounds a little bit stressful. So my hobby, kayaking, leatherwork, photography, and playing guitar are hobbies where I'm able to slow down. And this is especially true for photography. That's interesting because for me, it's the other way around. When I'm out taking pictures, it's just me and my environment, my subject. It doesn't matter if it's a town or nature, but I like nature more. By concentrating on my motive, imagining the different ways to shoot it, thinking about the composition, light, and so on, my mind is able to let go of the daily stress, the constant circling around work-related problems. The closer and the more intimate I get with this whole process, the further away I get, the further I get away from me, and by doing so, I get a new perspective on the world around me, a closer one, and my position, my stand in this world. Oh, interesting. Photography is learning about myself by examining something completely different through the lens of my camera. So it's kind of similar to what Sabine says, but when you look at the picture here, this is more like it looks rather unaltered, more documentation, more like capturing the scene around you. Interesting, right? And for you, it's like more kind of a thing where you relax and then explore the world through the camera, if I understand that right. So that's pretty awesome. You wanted to enlarge the screen. I see. Okay, thank you very much. I didn't understand that. Right? We can go full screen, or let's press F11 and then you have the full screen, but then I don't see the tab, so I can't switch. So I'm not sure if that's a good idea for right now. Let's just leave it like this. I could maybe hide the links here. Maybe that makes it a little bit bigger. There we go. All right, pretty cool, interesting. Let me know in the use the chat, please, to like bring in your interpretations of good photography, of what it makes good, or maybe also what it makes bad as a photography. What do you think it shouldn't be, right? I think this is an important part of definition in culture, also in people. To define yourself by defining what you don't like, because difference is setting you apart from other people or from other cultures, right? That's a very important element of, for example, why we used to have these kind of outfits that are different in different cultures and stuff like that, because then you see another person say, oh yeah, he's from that kind of region because he has this kind of head and there's a feather on the head, stuff like that. So differentiation was a big part of that, right? Okay, let's go on. Oh, coffee mug, by the way. Cheers, my friends. Cheers. There we go. Let's go to Tom's definition here. This is what photography is for the person, but at the same time, when you think about what is photography for you, you also define what you see as good photography, right? Because, of course, you like what you're doing most of the time, right? So, yeah, I think there's a strong connection between these two. So Tom says, capturing the times, places, people, and moments that are important to me and hoping they resonate with others. Interesting. So you see there's a lot of similarity in a lot of these posts or comments. This is interesting. It's very nice. Very nice picture here. It looks a little bit painterly, but I don't think it is. It's the hair is just flowing in that kind of way. But it's interesting that a lot of these comments say that photography at the same time is a way to explain the world to yourself and then also to communicate with other people. So it's a picture that you kind of use like a language or kind of use like a medium to share your experiences, to share your emotions, right? And the better that works, maybe the better the picture is, if that might be a way to judge that, right? If you enjoy that, right? Or if you enjoy your own pictures, right? So that's really interesting. So, so far, yeah, the perspectives are kind of similar. And as you can see, which is also interesting, photography automatically has this element of documentation in it because you take a picture and it kind of shows you something you saw before. It's similar. So it has a spark of reality, at least in the photo, right? And usually we try to follow that, or we use that as a part of the picture, right? And sometimes, of course, we can remove it. Like if you think about composites, stuff like that, you can go far away from that if you want to. And of course, like let's read the next one, which is more abstract as a picture, also black and white. It's interesting. So here from Ian, sorry, I'm also not sure how to pronounce it. Architecture and people, both of these genres call my ability to express myself, again, expression as an artist, with people in the normal sense. I am very closed off and distant. I am polite yet removed from their noise. With architecture, I can see what a human person has created. I can experience what many hands put together have made a reality. This photograph speaks to me on both levels. Not only can I see a human created testament to engineering, but I can also see the presence, a reminder of humanity. Very interesting. This brings a new dimension to that, or a new element of photography, which is that you share something with people who are not there with you to experience the same thing. So there is a time difference that is built into the medium, right? You want to share it to the next person, but in the way that you experience it through the image, which is very interesting, right? And it also defines a little bit on what the photo can look like, right? So if you think about that, if you share it with your circle, like the family and friends who know you, they understand what is going on in the picture most of the time because they know the people in your circle, they know the inside jokes, they know the locations you photograph. They don't need a lot of extra information. So the photograph can function as a starter of remembering, oh yes, that was the party, oh yes, this is your new car or your dog or whatever. While when you share it with a bigger audience who doesn't know you, you need to put more information in the picture so they can understand easier what is going on, right? Let's have a look at the photo here. Oh, wow, I thought these are chair legs, but it's not. It's a canal. I think this is a canal under a bridge. Wow, interesting. Okay. That's nice. So Antonio says, one second, let's put this over here. Sorry, I don't want to put it over the picture. Antonio says, hi, I think photography is a very unique way of a particular person wants to show. That's way photographers have individual strengths. Wait a second. Again, I think photography is a very unique way of a particular person wants to show. Okay. But that's very wide as a definition, because you can also do it with text or with music, or why photography for that, right? Which is also interesting. Like if you think of the different abilities of media, if you think about text, for example, you can explain to people what you have experienced, and some people do it by, for example, writing a travel journal. That might be nice, but of course photography can maybe do it in a quicker way. You can also draw things, but then photography can just capture in a second and be more precise if you want to. If you it depends on how you define the image, right? A sketch can be done by hand, can be more precise in the sense of what you saw, what you experienced at that moment, than a photo, because the camera comes in between you and your expression, right? You can't change it as the photo in the camera too much from what it's in front of the camera. Of course, you can do it now afterwards with editing, but that's still removed from what you can do with your hand in a drawing. So it's interesting. Let's go on to the next one here. And also, like I said, write it in the chat room. This is a conversation. This is like, yeah, the topic today, complete conversation about what is good photography. So I want to read through the comments, and then we have a more free talk. Let's go here to the next one. This is from Chris, and that is, it's the person, he says, it's the person behind the camera that makes the picture, not the camera itself, says the person that hates to be photographed but loves to catch other people with his camera. Rare self-portrait, and still my photography is nothing more than an eclectic scrapbook of my life. Interesting. Okay. Please, places I visited, memories, caring emotions, discoveries, of beauty. You need to be me to understand my photography. There we have that point, right? So there's so much inside information in what he captures that it is not easily uncovered by other people, even though they see that image, which, by the way, is why when people say art has to speak for itself, I say crap. It's not like that. A picture can't speak for itself, because a picture in its nature is empty. There is nothing in a picture. You have to bring all the information to decipher a picture. And if you say, no, that's wrong, a picture has a lot of stuff in it. No. If you think about the hieroglyphs from the Egypts, we could not translate that even though we had the pictures, because the pictures are empty. We needed to have a reference, which was a Greek text and I think also a Roman text, to understand what the pictures tell us. So pictures are empty, and you have to give information through, for example, visual language. This is why we have it as visual language, right? Because we reference to something that other people understand. So it's an anchor point. And when you break with that, people are surprised and like, wow, I didn't think you could show it in that way, right? Because we have a certain expectation. So that's interesting. Places, I've already read that. I need to be you to understand yours. Oh, okay. Yes. Interesting. Russell says, I'm in this view. Oh, this is a comment on that. Okay, interesting. Should we also read the comments to the comments? I don't know. All right. And also write something in the chat. So here we have oh, sorry, I didn't open that. There we go. Here we have a self-portrait with a Lumix camera, and the camera is on the eye, which is also interesting, kind of replacing the eye, looking through. Is there a looking port where he's holding the camera? Or is he just holding it so it looks like he's looking through? Because it looks like he's looking through the left corner of the camera. Is he just posing but not looking through the like search window? What is it called? The finder? Interesting. I don't know. Self-portrait with camera. Now known as a selfie, which wasn't very like normal when we still had cameras, which why was that, right? Because you still could, and people use cameras like this to do vlogs where they film themselves, but you wouldn't usually do it with a selfie photo. That's kind of a thing that came around, I think, mostly with the smartphone. Did you have selfies before that? Interesting. All right, let's go on here. You mean the stone of Rosetta? The language was Greek. Wasn't it 3 languages on the Rosetta Stone? Wasn't it like Greek, Roman, and Egypt? I think you're right. It was. I'm certain it was Greek and then Egyptian hieroglyphs. I thought there was also Latin on there, but maybe not. You're right about that, I guess. Okay, let's read the next one from Daniela. Says, photography for me is health. Oh, interesting. When I started with my nature photography, I was suffering a lot from fibromyalgia and had to go through surgery of one of my back bulge discs. Oh, wow, that sounds bad, but I'm happy you recovered and photography could help you with that. During that period, I couldn't even walk. Then slowly I started taking bird shots. More than 10 years have gone by, and I walked much more than before, enjoying nature a lot and feel the communion with the environment. What does that word mean? The sharing or exchanging of intimate thoughts and feelings, especially on a mental and spiritual level. Interesting. Okay. Didn't know that. With the environment, I learned about bird, insect, plant species. Photography is my personal witness, my personal diary of this journey. Species Serpophaga. Okay, that's the species in the picture. Let's not read that. This was an interesting exercise. All right, so here we have a bird photo. Okay. And then, of course, yeah, I mean, using art as a way to connect to the world and to connect to yourself through that process is a very important part of that. This is why, for example, we have things like art therapy, because art is discovering basically yourself in the way you see the world, right? Because the way you do art explains to you how you see the world, so you can discover yourself through that process. So that's pretty awesome, pretty interesting. And who was that? Ian said before, it can also calm you down. It can remove stress. So that's very interesting to use it as a medium like that. And so it's really interesting that photography, of course, is basically filtered through ourselves and how we perceive the world. So the picture is not just the documentation. So you can see how far every comment removes it a little bit more from what is in front of the camera and brings it closer to how do I see the world and how do I want to share that with other people or with the part of myself that I don't know yet, which kind of is also different people, right? Inside of yourself, there's always this kind of, not the subconscious, but I think there's a lot of elements of yourself you've never seen before, right? And art can show it to you, so that's pretty interesting. Chipe says on the comments, 1 second, let me read this. Bloop, there we have it. Yes, it was Greek hieroglyphs and demotic. I've never heard from Demotic, interesting. Which was the daily language of the Egypts. Oh, really? Okay, interesting. Pretty cool. Wow, nice. Yeah, so that's really cool. Okay, let's go to the next one. Mick says, as you know, the photography side of this isn't the big draw for me. Okay, interesting. That's a bold statement. Over the years, the person I have taken the... What? No, once. Again. Over the years, the person I have taken the most photos of is my daughter as she was growing up. Okay, yes, that makes sense. Memories are the things I see, a document in time to be remembered. To look back and remember those times is priceless to me. I took this photo of my daughter about 6 years ago. She would have been around 14 at the time. I remember looking at this and realizing how she grew up all of a sudden. How beautiful she was and how incredibly proud she made me. Wow, that's really awesome. Very touching also. Very emotional. And should I make this larger? Maybe I'm kind of reluctant to show children on my stream, so I will leave this as a small picture for now. Yeah, so that's also like using photography as basically an external memory, as we also do with text, for example, noting down all these notes and stuff. So we have a reference where you can say, oh, we can remember, and then we spark all the knowledge in our brain that we already have in there, and we can like uncover memories that we kind of forgot, and you see that and you're like, oh yeah, that was that, right? That's really interesting. So that's also a very important part of that. And also kind of covered in our in our self-reference, so to speak. Like, for example, over the time, people, if all the people are gone who have been connected to that element, suddenly nobody knows what is going on in that picture, why it was done like that, because there's nobody around to tell you. So again, the information is inside of you, and there's a strong reference between that information, like that starting point that you find in the picture and the information you have inside of yourself, or that you have inside of the culture around you, your social circle, stuff like that, right? And these things can very rapidly change, like where people do something and then suddenly, very suddenly, everybody's stopping to do that, right? Nobody's like using it anymore, and suddenly you forget how to do that or what it even meant, right? For example, if think about your childhood, all the kind of the specific special slang you had with your friends. I guess you can't remember a lot of this slang, and maybe if you read it today in your notebook, you might not even remember what you meant by that back in the day with these kind of words, these kind of references, right? So that's pretty interesting. Okay, let's go to the chat real quick. Antonio says, I'm not a fan of selfies, but I remember that before smartphones, I used a lot of my Sony U, a small camera, like the 007 stuff. Huh? What? To capture group photos with my face in the first plan? It's kind of a selfie. In the first plan? You mean like standing in front of the other people? Is that what you mean by that? The Sony U. What is the Sony U? Let me write that real quick in here. Sony U. Nope. Xperia U, is that what you mean? Oh, but that's a smartphone, right? Is that what you mean? That looks like a smartphone. Maybe it's one of these like thingies like the BlackBerry used to be, like just an electronic diary or something like that. Or probably it's not what you mean. Let's go to Carrie here. What does Carrie say? After being made redundant in November 2020, I decided to really try and do my AP. So, do more with Affinity Photo. So I paid for some Udemy courses and joined a few Affinity Photo groups. I don't really post much, as there are much smarter people than me in this group. That should not be a reason, right? Post what you want to post because it's the only, or not the only way, but it's a good way to improve and to learn. Ask questions about your. Don't just post stuff, but connect it to a question, right, that you have, and then it's a good process to learn, right? I do love seeing the posts and how they were achieved, and that gives me inspiration to try myself. I don't miss working, but am striving to produce a wow image. You don't have to if you don't want to, and also if you want to do that but you don't know how to do, maybe make it simpler and try to do that wow effect with simpler means, because then you have more control over them and you can still do some cool stuff. So you can search online on Google Images, on Pinterest, on other pages, what you experience as something that you find cool, that is done in a simple way, and then you can try to kind of replicate that. Replicating is a great way of learning. Taking the photos and processing them gives me hope for the future and gives me mindfulness that takes my mind off current problems. Finally, thanks to all that posts here and on the other groups. Okay, awesome. Let's have a look at this picture here. So here we have some, what's the English word for that? I don't know. Okay, pretty cool. It's a little bit blurry, but maybe that's because it's cropped in. Or maybe just move back a little bit and then crop out that part so you can focus on that thing. But it's kind of, macro photography is pretty difficult. You want to bring a flashlight because then you can have a smaller, actually a higher aperture, and then you have more depth of field, right? So that's, use a flashlight for macro photography. All right, let's see what the chat is saying real quick again. Daniela says, Olivio, communion is the spiritual connection I feel whenever I am photographing nature, a special state of calm and belonging to where I am. Ooh, that is an interesting point. Interesting, right? Oh wait, let me search a word. Erhaben English. What is that? Sublime, sublime, sublime. Okay. There was a there's like in philosophy. There was a text is called about the sublime in art. Is it über das Erhabene in der Kunst? Das Erhabene in der bildenden Kunst. What's the English? Is that the English title? Beyond the Sublime? That sounds a lot cooler. Kunst und Musik. Let me see. But it's very philosophical, so I'm not sure. That's I don't find the title here. Anyway, is there an English one? Sublime, there we go. In aesthetics, the sublime is the quality of greatness whenever ever physical, moral, intellectual, metaphysical, aesthetical, spiritual, or artistic. The term especially refers to the greatness beyond all possibility of calculation, measure, and imagination. So it's like mind-blowing, basically, you would say today. Here you have a little bit of an example. I think romantic art was a lot about that kind of thing. So yeah, some mind-blowingly amazing things, right? Yeah, that you can find in nature or in art, stuff like that. And there was a little bit of this concept of, should art be like that? Like, should art blow your mind or not? So yeah, that's also a very interesting element, a very interesting point of what it can be. Doesn't have to be, of course. Caterpillar, yes, that's it. Thank you very much. So that's really interesting that you have this kind of a connection to art, which is very positive, I would say. It's a really good sign that you feel like that, because it gives you a very deep-rooted connection to what you're doing, right? And you're drawn to this kind of specific way, because that is what kind of everybody's searching for, this kind of finding something that really fills you and makes you happy and gives you this kind of sense, purpose, right? I think that's what's happening, right? Then I'm romantic. Maybe, yes. Yeah, I guess so. I can't send links in this chat, but search Cybershot U. Okay. So that's an early digital camera, I guess, if it's called Cybershot. Isn't Cybershot Sony? Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, Sony, right, of course. Did you say Sony? I'm not sure. Ooh, okay, you can twist that. That's pretty interesting. Yeah. I think art in itself has a lot of these elements of being kind of a romantic, being kind of selfish, being kind of crazy, is all kinds of elements I think you kind of need as an artist, because it's so, especially if you do it like you're completely getting sucked into that. It's so removed from what we understand as being productive or doing something useful, right? It's closer. I always found that art is closer to not religion, more like spirituality, more like because it's a lot happening in your mind and in this kind of how would you phrase that in English? It is beyond the world, right? It's not in the world that we know as existing materially around us and the structure that we know as society. It goes beyond that, right? And spiritual things also go kind of beyond that. Science stays very much in that because it needs these systems to check if it's right or wrong, but art doesn't have right or wrong. You can be right and wrong at the same time in art, which in science they say is not possible, but of course it's possible if you go outside of that, right? So yeah, interesting. Absolutely, that's very interesting. Oh, I'm still hot. At the end of the stream, I'm sitting here in my how do you say, like undershirt? I shouldn't have put on a second undershirt. I was so cold before. Now I'm like in a sauna. All right, there we go. Let's go for the next one here from Laura. Oh, with this picture here. That's by the way, that's a really cool picture. I really like that. Laura says, for me, a photograph taken by me is the memory of a moment that I can show to other people as well. I took this picture of my friend Daniela in 1995. At that moment, I saw it like this, and now you can see it too. For me, it's a bit like magic. That's interesting. Okay, so there's also, again, this element of like keeping memories and then sharing it with other people, this kind of element of photography. Like I said, it's, by the way, this is a good question. If you say, I want to share a memory, specifically a memory, do you show what has happened or do you show what is in your mind? Because it's different things, right? Your memory is not the reality. They are completely different from each other. So what is it that you're actually sharing at that moment, right? Especially because we know that our memory is very extensively altered, but what we can remember and what we want to remember, which is always why the past, for example, you mainly only remember the sunny days or the nice moments or the good films or the nice music tracks. You forget all the rest because it's not that relevant to you. So your memory is very different from what actually happened, right? So it is interesting if you share your memory. What part of that is it, right? And of course, in your image, you capture a certain way and then you decide, oh, I keep this image, but I throw the other image away. So there's kind of a similar process where you say, okay, this image looks nicer to how I remember it. And the other picture doesn't, apparently, although it's also a picture of the reality, right? So that's an interesting element. Oh, okay. I will take off my shirt right now. I'm leaving the camera 1 second because you can see I'm sweating. 1 second. I'm back in a second. Oh, God. Whew. Okay. There we go. All right, I'm back again. One shirt less. Let's see how long that holds. Maybe I have to take off another shirt. Oh my God, sweating. Whew. So Daniela says, how this happens with my kids. They are big men now. I show them a photo and them as kids, and I remember some things, but usually they remember other I have forgotten. Oh yeah, that's a big thing. Like you remember things that have been important to you, and other people remember what's important to them. So that's quite a different thing. Also, the connection they have to the picture, right? Is that moment you capture, is that an important moment to them, or was it just to you? And the way it was photographed, do they enjoy it or do you enjoy it, right? There's so much interpretation in what a photo is, right? So that's really interesting on how that's like. You can see that photography on its own is not a freestanding medium. There's a lot of interpretation in that process, right? Let's go to the next one. Oh, we have two more. Okay. Tom says, you never know what you will find in your surrounding if you don't look around. Okay. So what is this, by the way? Oh. So this is a tree trunk, but it looks like an ape, a monkey, right? Does it, like, there's the eye and there's the mouth, and it looks like a monkey, right? There's the hair here, hairline around that. I'm seeing a monkey. I'm not sure what you're seeing. Oh, there's also a face on here drawn on there's a double a monkey and the angry face on the monkey. Interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah. So uncovering the surrounding through photography, right? And the next one, the last one, is from Jens. I can also refresh the page. Maybe someone else has commented there. Jens says, photography means many things to me. It's preserving moments and feelings as well as searching for artistic impressions. Sneak up to some rare birds, try to catch the flare in a cathedral, capturing the mood at a festival. In the end, it's all about preserving the moment, creating a moment in time now to be remembered later on. Too many pictures are representing my thoughts and just one should be shown. What? And just one should be shown? I'm not sure what that means. Well, this one is shot in my garden in the time of the first lockdown last year. May not be very interesting for others, but for me it's remembering a very quiet time, very little cars on the road, no tourists. Let's have a look at that picture. So we have a butterfly here. Wow, pretty damaged butterfly. This guy had a rough time on a wood plank. Interesting. Wow. All right. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. And so this is kind of, you put some info, like you see, if you read this extra information that you don't see in the picture about the missing cars and the quiet time, you wouldn't know that. You would think it's just a nature picture. But for you, with all these memories and connections to that, it has a different meaning and connects to that kind of time. And so this becomes more expressive, right? And what the elements mean to you that you see in the picture, right? But others don't see like that. They would need that extra text for that. So that's really interesting, right? I'm very astounded that almost all of these comments are fairly similar. Of course, they have a lot of individuality and difference. They go in a lot of different directions, but I think none of them went into the way of creating your own world, right? Or going beyond the world with photography, stuff like that. Or you know what I mean? Like most of the comments, if I see that correctly, reference it as a medium that captures a memory and or gives you the ability to understand the world around you, right? Or find yourself in the world, stuff like that. But it's still a medium that's kind of still going mostly inwards, and then you process the information, right? But it's from the inward information that you process and then put outwards into the picture, right? It's not a process that starts completely on the inside and just goes to the outside, like you would, for example, with a painting that you just do from memory, of abstract art or stuff like that, or a composite like I do with the live streams, which doesn't really have a reference that I have created. So there's no information that's flowing inside of me in the first place by doing that picture. Of course, when I do these other, like my own portrait shots, that's a different story, because then in that case I'm taking the picture. So yeah, that's quite interesting that there's a lot of overlaps in the way people use photography, understand photography. So it's pretty cool. Let's go back to there's nothing new in the chat. All right. By the way, let me switch over to the big view real quick. Let's go here. Boom. And then I have to search for some links I wanted to show you, because these are, let me see. Oh my God. Oh, there's one. Okay, cool. I hope my stream doesn't get stricken down when I show stuff from other people, but I don't think so. I've done that before, so shouldn't be a problem. What? Oh, I have to sign in? Really? Okay. 1 second. Accept all. Yes. Please do that. Log in. Yes, continue. 1 second, I have to sign into my Instagram. By the way, while we are at it, if you can use the deal that I have up for Black Friday, because it's, I think, the biggest deal I've ever done. I think it's also kind of the last time I'm doing such a big deal. So this is kind of your last chance to get not everything. I removed some of the packs. I didn't include some of the packs because I didn't think they are coherent enough. Just 1 or 2, by the way. So most of the stuff is in. There's 25 pro packs and then also my 4 online courses. So yeah, lots and lots of information in there. I wanted to look for something else too. Ooh. Oh, there we go. 1 second. I'm looking for one more page. Is this the one? Yeah, that's also the one. Okay, interesting. But these are mostly kind of created. There's also one is like documentarian, but set up in a certain way. So that's interesting. Yeah, also you can share like photographs or something. Jens says in the chat, he says, I meant I could not decide which of my photos I should show. Oh, that's interesting. I understand. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's also kind of hard, right? What do you want to show? What is the picture that feels most like relevant and true? Also, maybe, right? Okay, let's switch over here again. Look at some photos. They are maybe a little bit of a different concept. So by the way, would you say in this instant, if you think about photography, are these concepts that mostly refer to private photography compared to professional photo, or not professional, artistic photography that intently from how it is created, why it is created for the outside, it's created for an audience. While when you take photos on your own, you usually create them for yourself because you're not searching for an audience, right? You're not searching for a gallery or something. You put them online, right? But not with the pressure behind it to be successful at that moment and to create a legacy or to overcome some rules or some other stuff, right? You don't want to go to the edge and then push society or culture or art or photography through the process. So that's kind of what I would say is this kind of artistic photography, let's say, right? And then private photography is more of a medium that you enjoy. Like, for example, cooking. If you cook for yourself, you cook for yourself because this is what you like to eat. This is what you enjoy. If you want to be one of the Michelin star cooks, you, of course, have to go like really hard to the edge and push the definition of what cooking is. So that's a very different process. Which basically also hooks into the conversation we had before about what is fine art, what is not fine art. Fine art means that you try to push the edge, and you're part of a global circle that is part of that discussion. And the rest is creativity, is art, but not fine art. That's the difference. There's art and there's fine art. They are not the same thing. How could you compare that? To what could you compare that? Like home cooking and restaurant cooking is not the same thing, right? Maybe that's a good example. Is that good to understand? I don't know. Or let's say fashion you wear every day and fashion you see on the catwalk. The catwalk fashion is specifically made to push the medium, to go stronger and harder at what defines fashion. That is not made for the everyday life, while everyday fashion, what the stuff you wear, is not made to push anything. It's just looking nice to everyday people and just being comfortable, right? So that's completely different, right? Completely different things. Anyways, much too long talk about the difference between art and fine art. Let's go to the examples. Let's go to the Batcave. No, wait a second. Boom, there we go. Hey, wait a second. I should maybe also have this. Can I push this over with the Black Friday thing? It would be cool to have that here too. Or is that too much? Let me do that real quick. How do I, sorry, did I switch over because I try to see what that layer is called. Is it called, it's called Halloween. Okay, interesting. Let's add that. Image, yes please. Existing, yes please. Halloween. And then we click on OK, and there we have it. And then we put this maybe on the top of the chat over here. Is that good? I think that's good enough. It doesn't stand in your way, right? You can still see everything. Cool. There we go. Wow, the Black Friday thing is coming a little bit too often. Daniela says, I entered you to your website, but couldn't see the offers from Black Friday. Really? But let me check this real quick. Can I copy here the... how do I copy the link? Let's click on that link real quick here. No, there you go. You can see here the list of all the packs included and also the online courses. And then if you go to my page here, this should lead to my page. Oh, this is the backside. 1 second, you shouldn't see that. That's my store. Let's go to the incognito window here. Here you can see the individual products, and you can just click on them and check out what they are, what they do, stuff like that, right? So you have a lot of information here about all these packs. Look at all the stuff I've created over the time. Yeah, pretty crazy. So you should be able to figure out from the list. I was thinking about including links to all of these packs, but that would be like super complicated maybe. I should include that link up here though, so that would be a good idea. I hope that's helpful. So let's look at these pictures here for a second. So this is some stuff. These are artists I saw from a conference about art and photography. Let's just name it the Adobe Max conference, which was really cool, to be honest. I invited you to in my Facebook group. It was completely free to join. You can still check out all the videos, all the lectures from there, and artists talking about their art, about their concepts. Really interesting. So this is from a guy you can see here, Robert Bartholot. Not sure if I pronounced that right or not. And he's doing stuff like this, for example, right? And of course, this is completely different than what you would do at home, but it's a different kind of photography. So I find that's interesting to compare this to, for example, private photography you do to for yourself. Of course, this is not really remembering what happens. It's creating something that didn't happen, right? You could maybe say something that never was. You create something that never was, because the thing is, it's created through the process of doing the picture, not just in the studio with the camera, but actually through your art process, which is a lot more than the picture itself, and of course the editing afterwards, all that kind of stuff. So you could make an argument that the thing you see in the picture actually never existed outside of the picture. Did I explain that good? I hope so. But this is kind of interesting works here. Some of them, not all of them, but yeah, it's pretty. This, for example, is nice, but I don't like the execution of the work, to be honest. What he did there is he was photographing an artist, and she had a sculpture of herself not in clay, in what is it called? The white stuff that you use to fix holes in your wall. What is that called? Anyway, she had a sculpture of that, and then they broke that sculpture apart and they combined it with the portrait of her. And it is a good idea. You see here the break in the neck and stuff like that, but I feel like he put too much color into that. Like, it's hardly the sculpture anymore, and that person is so colorful, and then this stone is kind of pushed into the back. They don't really harmonize with each other that well, because there's just too much going on here. But the idea is cool. I really like the idea. If this was a little bit less colorful, I think I would like it a little bit more. Or maybe a little bit more giving me the expression that there is actual, like, a kind of a conflict, kind of a fight between the actual skin and the stone that is going on, right? The plaster. Is it plaster? Maybe it's plaster. Oh no, we can't see that. Please don't cancel my stream. Why can't we show that? If it was a man chest with men nipples, you can show men nipples. For some reason, you can't show female nipples because of, I don't know, rampant sexism in social media ruling. I find this an absolute crazy concept that you can show one nipple but not the other. But anyways, this is the world we live in today. Yeah, so interesting. Let's switch over to something with Jimmy Nelson. He, by the way, amazing talk about his childhood and what brought him to be a photographer. And then he does these pictures where he basically is visiting very, very small remnants of old cultures, basically the people who are still keeping them alive, and then photographing them. But what I found very interesting about him, like, you go here, people and places, you see all the places he has photographed in, and then also you have a list here of all these different tribes and cultures and stuff like that. But when you click on the pictures, the interesting thing you see here is that these pictures are heavily staged. Look at that. Like, this is not capturing the cultures as they are. It's staged in a in a very nice way, very like iconic and beautiful way, but removed from reality again, which is interesting, right? In the sense of trying to document dying cultures, but then like stage them in a way that is different to like what their life feels like. Because this is more this kind of larger than life heroic kind of thing, which I like photographically as pictures. I really like what he's doing. As a documentarian, maybe it's kind of strange to do that in that way. Because in that, if you do it, if you make a living person into a monument, they become a museum exhibit, right? Rather than being the person that they are, right? So, kind of strange, but beautiful at the same time, right? So there's a lot of interesting concepts. Let's have a look at the chat here. What does the chat say? What did I miss here? Cloudstrife says it's high-end fashion and beauty photography compared to most wedding photography. Two totally different things, but they are still photography. Yes, interesting. Absolutely. Like there's also photography as a service, right? Wedding photography, party photography, portraits for your identity card and driver license, stuff like that is also photography, right? Done by a professional. And kind of staged, kind of documented, kind of a lot of different things, right? So yeah, that's really interesting. Daniela says, on the other hand, I need a course on Affinity Photo. Do you have one? I have a whole channel with hundreds of videos about that. You should check out my channel. It's on YouTube. Yeah. I hope that helps, like these hundreds of videos I created. I don't have a beginner course because I can't wrap my head around how I would explain this kind of complex software in a course. I find it really hard to put that in a course unless the course is like 15 hours long or something, and that would be like really hard to do. I tried it multiple times, but I failed in making something that is easy and entertaining and useful and explains the software to you in a comprehensive way. It's kind of, I don't feel like that's possible, at least not for me. Cloudstrife also says a true modern master of, do I overlap the chat again? I'm sorry, I'm doing that. Let's put it over here. On the no, a true modern master of photography is Cherry Gionis. He'll like double grandmaster plus tons of awards in photography. Awards in photography. Oh, interesting. He knows light and posing like no other. I need a beginner course. I see. Okay. Yeah, but most of my videos are beginner friendly, so you can still check them out and search for the things you like to learn the most. Maybe that's a good starting point, but I don't have a course for that. And I'm not sure there is a course for that really like captures that, but maybe there is. I'm not sure. Okay, wedding. So this is the guy, he does wedding photography and stuff. Okay. For photographers. Only photography. Oh, training. You can get training too. And then there is a portrait album. Naked people again. Sorry for that. Romantic. Oh, wow. You mean this guy here? Or is it another guy? Interesting. You know what I also find interesting? That some people are extremely touched by art and other people are like, nah. You know what I mean? Like, there is art that touches you and you're like overwhelmed by it, but for other people it doesn't mean anything, right? And I find it so interesting that we are specific in that way of perceiving the world that, yeah, it is just like amazing. I also like other things, like music, stuff like that. Like for a friend of mine, he's into metal music, but I'm completely not into metal music. So for me, it's like, why are you doing this kind of, and what is it about, and why is there demons on the cover, and but yourself is like the music, all of them, the guys they look like I don't know, they slit your throat, but actually everybody's super friendly. So what is going on there, right? And then my music, of course, is for them kind of strange. So yeah, different, right? Everybody has a different entrance, or different not entrance, a different approach to what they like, what they see in that. I'm not sure if you mean that guy or not. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong pictures here. Let's check another one out here. I mean, personally, I feel like they are good pictures, but not like I don't feel touched by them. For example, they are good pictures, but how can I say? They are photos. That's it. That's it. That's the meaning of going beyond, right? If there is more than just the picture, and I'm absolutely sure that you see more than the picture, but I can't because I'm just, yeah, built different. That's not the way you use that. But anyways, you know what I mean. So that's interesting, huh? Okay, interesting. All right, let's go on. Let's have a look at the chat real quick. Let's maybe close this. Oh, there, by the way, there's this here, and this is a completely different kind of photography. This is a Russian woman, Russian artist. She's super popular, as you can see, 4.4 million followers, and she does stuff like this. I mean, this, for example, is a work I really like, but then she does a lot of stuff that I feel like it's kind of goofy, but on the same hand, this is what social media is built for, because you want to reach to a lot of people, not a small amount of people. So you do things that are appealing to a lot of people, right? Like, for example, the Marvel movies or Star Wars or stuff like that. It's made to appeal to millions of people, maybe billions of people, and not to just interest, I don't know, 500 people or stuff like that. So there's a different necessity behind the process of creating it like that. Which is also interesting if you think about it. And so this is another work I really enjoy, where she makes a fire. This is more like a video, but to be honest, I feel like we need a category of a photo that is a moving picture but not a GIF. You know what I mean? Something in between that, because it's big like a video, not small like a GIF, but at the same time it's not a video. It's a photo where I can't really explain it. It's a moving photo. It's done in the way of a photo, but it moves a little bit. I find that is like you see it sometimes, but way not enough. I feel like this is a new dimension that I feel photography should have, but it kind of doesn't. So she burns old picture frames to keep warm in this kind of castle here or something. Of course, all of this is done in like probably After Effects or stuff like that. So it's not a real fire. You can see the smoke is kind of fake, stuff like that. But still, it's a nice idea, right? It's interesting, nice concept. And then she has stuff like this. Sorry for that. She has stuff like this, which is a bit more goofy. But that's the interesting thing. Like this is, by the way, this is a very interesting use of Instagram. Look at that. This, and then it goes on, and it goes on, and then, yeah, here it ends. I kind of like it. I almost like it. The thing I don't like is there are faces in the ear. You see there's a nose and a mouth here. If that wasn't there, I would think that's a really cool work, but the ears make it kind of goofy. Let me know what you think about that. Oh, there we have some more chat messages. Let's go. Where should I put that? Let's just put it here. Never mind. He does everything. He's the most awarded photographer in the world, if I remember. No, that can't be. No way. I mean, most awarded maybe, but what does it mean? I mean, there is people like I can't remember. I'm so bad with these names. The famous American photographer. Yeah. 1 second. Annie Leibovitz. I mean, she for sure is. She probably doesn't have more awards than him, but she's for sure a better photographer than this guy. When you look at the pictures that she took in her life, you will be blown away. You will be blown to pieces, to be honest, because she did stuff like, for example, this picture here, Les Miserables. That's from her. And then you have the Whoopi Goldberg picture. I can't find it right now, but that's also from her. The John Lennon picture, that's also from her. She did like, let's go here. Whoopi Goldberg. This picture is from her. Like, that's crazy. This one, this famous picture, she took that, right? And then also the John Lennon Yoko Ono picture, this one. This is also what she took. So, like, she's... she was at the most important moments in history, basically, of recent times. This is another picture. I can't show it because it has a dong in it. Sorry for that. This is another picture of her. Like, if there's a famous picture, you can be sure it's kind of from her. By the way, this one, you have to read the picture, the history behind that picture, because Whoopi Goldberg at that moment, and this is, by the way, this is from her online course on explaining photography. I didn't make that up. Whoopi Goldberg was in a TV show where she tried to wash herself because she thought that there might be white skin under her black skin, and this is the story of that TV show. I'm like, what? You could not make these kind of shows today. You would be like thrown out forever from I don't know, movie making stuff like that. That's so crazy. I've never seen that show. Maybe it's completely different. It just sounds like your mind is going to explode when you hear that kind of story. And this is why they did the photo where she is bathing in milk, because of that idea of the TV show that Whoopi Goldberg was doing at the moment. I was like, really? What's going on? I don't know. Yeah, and then she slipped in the bath, and this is what the photo that was sold. It's kind of an accident, and interesting to have an iconic picture that's like not everybody, that a lot of people know that picture. I think this is kind of also defining picture for Whoopi Goldberg. This is one of the rare photos I know of her at all. And this is like, of course, I know a lot of other pictures of her, and she was in TV shows and stuff like that. I know her, right? Especially from Star Trek, stuff like that. But as an iconic picture, this is the one. When you ask me Whoopi Goldberg picture, this is the one I think about. And that's the story behind that. And my mind was completely blown by that. I was like, what am I hearing? Is this real, or is it like, what is it from Queen? Am I dreaming? Is it reality? What's the lyrics from that? Anyway, she's like, she has done some crazy stuff. Look at that. It's also from her. This kind of iconic picture here and other stuff. Like, yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy. Anyways, let's go back here to this. And yeah, interesting. I mean, you can also see from the picture, like, this is a good way to compare this. Let's go back here. Wait a second. Let me reopen that. If you look at this picture here, wait a second. Maybe not this picture. Let's go back to the John Lennon picture, even though he's nude in that. I think history can excuse that nudity. There we go. We don't see any, especially even the nipple is covered. There we go. So if you compare this to this, wait, that's the wrong one. If you compare this to that, of course, we talking here master of art compared to online sensation. So it's not a fair comparison. I'm not saying it's a fair comparison. What I'm saying is, whoa, this is not good. I wanted to make this big. Do we have a bigger one? Maybe this one. No, that's smaller. I think you can see it. Can you? You cannot see it because the chat is there and the other stuff is there. 1 second. I have to. No, we don't want to use that. Let's go with this one here. So, can you see it now? No. Why is this not working? This is better, maybe? Is this better? I wish this was on the other side, but I can't bring it over. But if you compare these two pictures, it's interesting. Like, this is complete entertainment, I would say. There's like maybe a smidge of art in there, but mostly entertainment. I would really want to know from Annie Leibovitz, for her, is it like, of course, she as a photographer, the things that have been done with her pictures is completely removed from what she does as a photographer, so I understand that. But I would be interested to see if she would see what she's doing as a form of entertainment. Is it important for her to entertain people, or I don't know, it's, that the mass appeal, is the mass appeal important because she photographed for very important, like covers of magazines and other things, movie covers, stuff like that. How much does mass appeal play a role? Because here on the left side, you can see that this is very much about mass appeal. This is made to make people happy and get a lot of clicks and likes and comments and shares and stuff like that. While on the right side, you have more of like a historic document at that moment and more of a artistic voice that defines the time of that moment, right? Not the time of that moment in what happened at that moment. I mean that the time in history that is happening right now, right? Especially if you, and this is of course not part of the photography, but he was killed, I think, 1 or 2 days later. So this is also why this photo became so historic. But still, this is very, very defining. This is also in a time when you think about the time when this photo was photographed, and you have the clothed woman, and then you have a naked man hugging her. This is very much a role reversal from the classic. Oh, you have the guy sitting there, and then you have naked women and his feet, kind of all admiring him, which is like classic painting, classic art, that kind of stuff where you find that a ton. Yeah, so very interesting, right? Very interesting. Okay, let's go back here to the normal view. Let's open this up. Let's look at the comments. So, yeah. Ansel Adams, are you referring to him? Ansel Adams? Who's Ansel Adams? I'm probably not referring to him because maybe I do. Maybe I don't. Let me see. Oh, someone else, maybe. Let me read through the comments here. The workbook on their site. The workbook is a workbook. It doesn't really it explains to a certain extent how photography works, but a workbook is basically a collection of work projects that show you how different processes work on the example of a project. So this is more specific than explaining the fundamentals to you. By the way, if you search my channel, I will show you the content of the book. I go through the pages, show you everything that's inside there so you get a good idea of what you're getting. Check that out. Basic with actual follow along projects like a class would do. Yeah, that's kind of it. But the projects are not super beginner stuff. They are more like, this is the range of things you can do with Affinity Photo, but often done by professionals. In a simple way, it's still simple projects, but I think if you're a complete beginner, you might be a little bit overwhelmed. I'm not sure. The perfect idea to be emotionally touched by the image. Interesting. Okay, cool. So this is your definition of what a good photo is, right? The perfect idea is to be touched emotionally by the image. Let's go to the next comment real quick. What you were looking was his wedding site made specifically. So does he have another page too with art stuff? And what is this Ansel Adam comment reference to? Wow, he's very classic. By the way, I know this picture, but I know it from National Geographic. They kind of have a very similar perspective. No, not from National Geographic, or maybe from National Geographic, I'm not sure. And it was in color, so probably not his picture. This is very classic from the painting. I wish I could remember what the name was of that painter, but this is like you would paint a scene. When did he live? By the way, this is also an interesting element of. Let's see. He died in 1984. What? He was born in 1902. Okay, that makes some sense. So he's from basically the olden days. Where modern art started, basically. Or it started a little bit earlier, but around that time. So, yeah. You can see, like, I think this is a good, interesting point to talk about good or bad photography, is when you look at this, let's go to this one here. Again, my stuff is over it. I'm sorry for that. You can't see anything. I hope this wasn't for the half live stream like that. I'm going crazy here with this. Let me go here. That's better. Okay, there we go. So if you look at this is how you would paint a landscape. I don't think you would photograph a landscape like this today. And when you think about the time when he was growing up, and which is influential for him to create him as a person, because of course we are the person of our time. So this is what he saw as creating pictures, right? So that's really interesting. Although he is coming from a time where the modern art was kind of like going really crazy and all that amazing stuff was around. So very classic in that kind of sense, but he's inspired by that kind of classic stuff apparently. When you look at this and the connection to classic paintings, and when you think about us today and what we have as pictures, because we don't have these painted pictures anymore, like we have it in a certain sense if you go to a gallery, but they don't define our world. We are not surrounded by these pictures in that sense as it was back in the day. So we have all these movies and Netflix and TikTok and Facebook and all that stuff that gives us a different reference, a different normal, basically, which is important to defining what you see as beautiful is also what you define as normal, and then you reference that, right? So you can see how he is a little bit more old schooly in that approach, right? From the pictures, which is interesting. At least this is my interpretation. Maybe he saw it from a completely different point of view, but look at that. I mean, that is more a painting than a photograph, I would say. From the composition, from everything, and the pictures, very, very classic. And these painterly clouds in there, very romantic also, from the way this is photographed. Interesting, really, really interesting to see that. Wow, this is, on the other hand, quite modern. You see how the dynamic is in there, this kind of energy, much more flow, more abstract, but there is more movement in the picture when you compare this to that picture here. Wait a second. Oh, come on, give me a big picture. This is so crazy here. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit upset by the limitations of Google picture search here. Where was the picture? Here, there we go. You see how this is very nice but very static at the same time. It's idyllic, but it's not like an action movie, right? And then this is more this kind of action, abstraction, dynamic energy. The picture basically jumps at you. And this is kind of more attention grabbing in a busy world, right? And also it goes over the frame, while this is kind of pushing inward the frame. You want to focus to the center, which is also a classic concept of art, right? If you look at classic paintings, this is also why you had these kind of huge frames around the classic painting, because they wanted to keep the attention inside of the picture as much as possible. And today, of course, a lot of pictures don't even have frames because they interact with the surrounding, go outside of the picture. So there's a lot of change, and you can see like this. I'm not sure you would frame this with a golden frame, a thick, big frame around that. You would probably frame this picture here. Maybe not, but you can see a frame around that much more than around this, because this needs the freedom. It needs the dynamic to move, right? It would be drawn down by a huge frame around that, right? So yeah, very interesting. Let's go back to the comments here. Boom, there we have them. Angel Adams is a master of black and white. Right, yes. But when you compare this to, I'm bad with names, I'm sorry. Famous black and white photos. What's the name of this guy? Wait a second. Vegetables. No. Wait, flowers? Famous flower photo. Black and white. Man, I can't find it. What's the name of that photographer who took these famous flower photos? I can't remember it. Ah, there we go. I think this is that's in the style. I don't think that's a picture of him, but that's in the style. I don't know. What was the name of that guy? Well, If you know who I mean, I'm pretty sure you know who I mean. Please tell me the name because I can't remember it right now. Oh, Mapplethorpe. Here we go. Mapplethorpe. It's a crazy name. Mapplethorpe. Mapplethorpe. I'm sorry. Yeah, there we go. Let's. Come on, please. Let's look at the pictures here. Flowers. There we go. Flowers. Bum 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 bum. Is there? Where are these iconic peppers? Let's go for peppers. Peppers. Pepper. Yes, there we go. Look at that. So that's a famous picture. You can see how this, as black and white photography, is like removed from the subject in a way that it looks like a body. It looks like a bodybuilder with the muscles and the back, and you don't see a pepper in that. You see a person, right? At first glance, and then you look at it and you're like, what? That looks very deformed. That can't be a human. But you see all these elements in there. Like you see the back muscle and the arms, and you see a little bit of butt cheeks down here and everything. And then you realize this is kind of just like your brain trying to make of sense of it, but actually you're seeing something different. And then the black and white abstraction makes it even more crazy because you can't reference. If it was red, you would know, oh, that's a pepper, because it's black and white, you can't do that. So this is like leading into that abstraction through the black and white. So it's really interesting. And you can see how very, very different this is from these pictures here, right? And now again, I'm fighting with, 1 second, look at that. So you can see what I mean by when I say, oh, this is very abstract for that time that he was living in, compared to, where's the other picture? There we go. Compared to this here. Sorry that the other one is so small, but I think you can still see it well. There we go. Look at that. Look at how hugely different that is from the approach of what is photography. And this is, by the way, this is also a good example of what I talked about before, of photography that how can I say, processes what comes to you from the world inside of you. You process it through your person, and then you have an image that you have as a remembrance of what happened back in the day, compared to a photo that comes out of you and creates something that hasn't been there before, but it comes from your mind. So you create something through the picture, while the other one is the picture that you altered in a way that it fits your memory and tells a story, right? So this is a good example of this comparison between I would like to have two good words, remembering and creating. Maybe that's a good definition. You can also kind of see that remembering is going in and creating is going out, right? So that's a different stream of what is happening, right? So it's really, really interesting. Whew, all right. Man, I'm sweating just from talking. So much energy here. Let's go back to the comments here. Klauser says, I learned a lot about color by studying the classic artists. That's a very good way to do that. Weight of color, texture of the image, and light are all separate, at least for beauty and fashion photography. Interesting. Okay. And he also says, do you think about technology has shaped what photography is today opposed to what it was in the past? That is a very good question right there, my friend, because I personally think that art is much more shaped through technology than it is through the genuine thinking and philosophy of people. Because, and I can prove that to you why I think that. Mankind hasn't really changed that much. For 5,000 years, we didn't really have much of a change. It was like a little bit here and a little bit there, but kind of it was all the same, right? There wasn't like, this is why, for example, we could, generations before, you can say, well, you have, for example, you have the elders, and the elders can explain to you how the world works. The reason why that has worked and we listened to the elders is because their world was the same as our world because it didn't change too much. It didn't change in hundreds of years. It didn't change much in thousands of years, right? But now the change between you and your children is bigger than it has been between your grandfather and Jesus, because not much has happened in that time, right? They did a little bit of stuff, and then suddenly everything exploded with technology. This is what came, right? Technology brought the industrial revolution and the train so we can move faster. And the clock, by the way, you should read about, you can also listen about a podcast, a video, stuff like that, about time, the importance of time, the importance of measurement of time, right? Today, we don't think about these things because they are fairly normal, that everybody has a watch and everybody can be there punctual. But think about a culture who does not have any kind of clock and just a very rudimentary way of measuring time. What does that mean to when you wake up, when you go to bed, how you can be punctual, how you measure the length of a process and what that process costs, and how you can define a machine that needs time. If you think about time and computers, a computer needs an extremely precise measurement of time to be able to work as a computer, right? Because time and the process, everything, and a machine, think about the industrialization of production. A machine can only work if you have a very, very good understanding of how long a process takes and can build the machine to follow the process. And the photography is a very good example for that, because we're talking about thousands of 5,000ths of a second to take a photo, and then it has to be processed at the same time. All of that is very, very time related. So technology has a huge impact on that, right? And this is why we changed in the last 200 years more than we changed in the last 5,000 years before that, because there was nothing there. You just before that, we had, I think your grandfather still used a car that has a horse in front of it because it's that new, right? You think about that the jet engine was developed at the end, not the beginning, at the end of Second World War. This is how new jet engines are, and technology is in that regard, right? That you can cross the Atlantic with a plane easily, right? That's completely new and stuff like that. So this is what changes humanity, because technology allows us to look into a new dimension of what is happening around us that we cannot imagine, because we are, for better or worse, kind of stupid apes, to be honest, because our imagination is very, very limited, right? And if you think, no, that's not true because we have all this magical art around us, people are creative, why then can nobody even for a little bit think into what is going to happen in 10 or 15 or 20 years? We cannot imagine that. It's impossible, right? It has to happen first, and then we can go, okay, now I can do things, right? There is not a single scientist or philosopher or mystic or anything who ever wrote a precise thing that happened outside of his time or did something that is completely unnatural for his time, as we would do stuff today, right? Because we just live that much inside of our bubble that it's just it's kind of hard to imagine anything around that, right? There's a good example. Think about Mark Zuckerberg and the metaverse, and everybody's like, the metaverse, what kind of a stupid idea. But you can right now imagine that, of course, we have a metaverse in some years, but what he means by metaverse basically is augmented reality and virtual reality. So metaverse is a really stupid and very bad to market word. I don't know why he did that. What he means, and you can see it in his conference, in his show, is that he talks about augmented reality and virtual reality. And that, of course, is going to be a big part because we require it as a society. But by the way, it wasn't a necessity before, right? Sorry for that monologue. I was a little bit crazy, but you know that I like to jump into these monologues. Think about social media. Before social media, and social media is super young, YouTube is not as old as this century, right? It has been developed this century, 2000 something, that new, right? Also Facebook, super new, right? We could not imagine anything like that before that. Nobody could. It was just like something like you would say, why? why would you want to put videos of yourself on the internet and like, huh? What are you talking about? Why would anybody sit in his bedroom with his shirt on and tell you the news if you have a news anchor on the state television program? Because nobody could imagine that. And now you have news shows on the internet everywhere, like blogs and podcasts and YouTube videos and live streams that tell you what's going on in the world as news, right? So yeah, very crazy. Anyways, let's go let's go beyond that. That's a topic I like to talk about. Let's read the comments again. Whew, sorry. He's creating his own universe in a sense that hasn't happened in a long time. Nah, not so much a universe. I mean, he is just pushing AR and VR technology. So, it's just like, I can remember like 15 years ago. Was it like 15, maybe a little bit longer ago? We had conferences, we had talks about the Internet of Things, and they made it like it's a mystic thing, like, oh, this kind of wow, amazing thing that's happening. And they explained it so, like, in such a crazy way, you would have no idea what the hell is going on. But basically, the only thing it means, you can like phrase it in a sentence, is that everything is connected to the internet. That is the Internet of Things. Your watch and your fridge and your phone and your TV and everything, your door and your heater, everything is connected to the internet. The light in your room is connected to the internet. This is the Internet of the Things. Super, super simple to explain. And today it's extremely easy to understand why you would need that. Back in the day, you would be like, why do I need my fridge or my light in my room to be connected to the internet? For whom is that good? But today it's like, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you have that, right? Of course, I don't have it right now because I'm at home most of the time. But for people who are outside, for them it makes sense, right? We are more in the world. Anyways, let's go back to photography. Yes, it changes a lot through technology. And by the way, for me, photography is kind of not changing fast enough. I think I want to make this into another live stream of what would you want from a camera, right? Because I want a lot of functions that a camera doesn't have, but a smartphone has, and I want to have a lot of things that a smartphone doesn't have, but a camera has. So a combination of that would be good. I would be super happy if I could use my camera to take a photo for my smartphone, so they are synced together to work as one device. Anyway, that's a little bit too far. Let's go back to photography. Wow, I'm even out of breath from all that talking. Okay, late for the party. Hi, Jonathan. You are coming at the right time. Mine's exploding left and right here in the live stream. At least I hope so. Mine is exploding all over. Daniela says, I need to get out, but thank you for everything today. Oh, okay. Thank you very much for joining. It was very interesting. I hope you have a joyful time. I hope you have a joyful time too with Christmas, no matter if you are into that or not into like the religious part of that. Celebration and cookies are always good, right? Some candlelight, and then, yeah, that's... That's the spirit, right? Okay, anyways, let's talk about photography here. So yeah, give me more definitions of what photography is. Let me talk a little bit about what photography is for me, because I like photography. I've often said that photography for me has to be larger than life, because I think life in itself, first of all, I'm kind of disappointed that the world out there doesn't have a purpose. And I think everybody experiences that, because this is one of the driving points behind the midlife crisis. By the way, I'm not in a midlife crisis right now. I have already overcome that hurdle in my life, thankfully. Anyways, what I was about to say is the meaningless of everyday life is kind of a driving element for a lot of people when they realize they got out of childhood. And then because in childhood you're cared for and everything kind of makes sense, and then you suddenly have to stand on your own feet and you realize actually nothing makes sense. It's just there. It's just like nobody cares. It doesn't matter what you do or who you are. It's just everything will carry on without you. So suddenly you have been the huge star of your friends and your family and your teachers and everything, and then you're pushed out, and the world looks at you and says, we didn't wait for you. Who are you? I don't even know your name. I have already forgotten you, right? So this is reality, and then you kind of have to push sense back into that by defining it yourself, right? And so this is what I feel art has a huge purpose in that, right? And for me also, this is why I like pictures that are larger than life, because through that process they are filled with purpose, maybe also filled with a little bit of glory, with a little bit of what we heard before. Who did say that? Was it Daniela? Was it someone else? I forgot about that. This kind of sublime element, this kind of communion in art. Who was that? I'm sorry, I forgot the name. I think it was Daniela, but I might be wrong. If you're still here and it wasn't Daniela, please tell me. Anyways, yeah, so let me push up here my page. I should, oh, by the way, I should put my photos. I'm not logged in. Okay, sorry, I have to log in here real quick into Unsplash, and I should also put some more photos on Unsplash. There we go. Okay, so I like, if you look at the pictures that I create, often they are a little bit abstract. Like these are maybe not that abstract, but they are certainly larger than life, right? So this is, if you are at the situation, you're like, okay, that looks a little bit different than this is. And you can also see I use perspective to make it grander, to make it bigger, to have it more dynamic, and have this temple really like radiating its importance and kind of, godliness and stuff like that, right? So that's a big element for me. Where's the, oh yeah, here we have this other picture. Maybe I just leave it like that, and then we can click on that. Look at that, for example. Also, with the weather and everything, you can see how this is like grand and has this kind of bigger element. It feels important, it feels purposeful, it feels loaded with energy and meaning, and kind of you almost kind of hear kind of a music in the background, like a symphony playing for that, right? You don't have that in real life, but you can have it in art, right? This is the good thing, that you can connect to the world in a way that the world isn't made to be, but it is for you, and you can share that moment with other people, right? To push that into that bigger meaning, in that bigger existence. And if you think about it, to bring that full circle, this is basically what we are as society, right? Because we are completely removed from what reality is, but we celebrate how we see it. And we build all these monuments like cities and all these kind of things around that. And also we tell us these stories about wonderful nature, all these kind of things, which, by the way, sorry to burst your bubble, all of them are made up. Nature is neither beautiful nor nice. It's absolutely cruel and horrific, but we make it into a nice story. If you think about it, why animals look that way, they look that way because nature in itself is so horrific and frightening that they bodily, physically involved into camouflage, so they wouldn't seen by people, by other animals who constantly, every day, every second, try to kill and eat them. This is how crazy nature is. But for us, of course, it's beautiful because we removed everything that's dangerous and we only kept the nice things around. So yeah, that's nature from the perspective of humans, which is also, when you look at parks, this is what that is, right? And we have different forms of that too, right? Which is also interesting. We should read about the story of parks, right? I want to give you two examples just to deepen that a little bit. Oh God, wait a second. Let's go. Let's just write park. Maybe we find some good pictures here. No. Oh, no. One moment. Okay, wait a second. Huh? Schönbrunn. All right. Oh, yeah, there we go. So this is an example. Let's look at that. I just want to give you two examples. This is also related to photography. I will explain in a second what that is, why that is. Englischer Garten. All right, there we go. Okay, so this Yeah, that's good. Let's hope these are big pictures. Okay, good. Okay, so this is a classic park from, I think, the Renaissance or something. I'm not quite sure. But the reason, when you look at the bushes, you have these balls here and these little cup-shaped bushes here, and then you have the flowers in these shapes. This is not just because it's nice. This is what we think today when we go to the park. Oh, that's so beautiful. But that's not the idea behind the park. The idea behind the park is that in that day and age, people thought about nature as being filthy and barbaric and uncultured, and it is the job of humans to bring culture to nature, and this is how we did that. This is why the parks look like that, because we control nature, and this is a civilized bush. This is what the idea is and why the shape is. It's not for being nice, it's because we teach nature how to be civilized nature and not barbaric as a wild growing forest. That was in that time. Then they kind of figure out, well, nature is actually pretty cool as it is. So we had these parks. These are landscape parks. They are nature parks. This is the English Garden in Munich. This is a more modern concept where they bring together, still in an idealized way, not the natural way. You can see the cars, the grass is cut and everything is put in a way where it looks nice to the eye, and from every point you have nice perspectives, but it's more like nature, and nature can to a certain extent grow wild. Certainly the trees have a natural form, and if you compare this to painting from these times, you will also see that in art, that you have a very strict and controlled way of how it was painted in that way, like the rulers of that time, stuff like that, and then how paintings have been in that time, more kind of allowing nature to be nature and things to happen, right? So that's really interesting. Let's go back to the comments here real quick. And this, by the way, the reason why I have this in a stream about photography is because, of course, we have a definition of what we see as photography. And by the way, this brings me back to the Jimmy Nelson guy here on how and why are his pictures so controlled? Because this is controlling a different culture to by kind of idealize it in a form, preserve it, but also idealize it. And this is why I say this is kind of a museum that has the character of a monument rather than the documentation of the natural state, which is very different, right? And that kind of throws it a little bit into question at the same time. So, if you combine this picture with pictures from a park, you're like, what's going on here? Is that like, what kind of philosophies behind that, right? I would love to talk with him about that. I'm not sure. I could actually ask him if he wants to join the stream. Sorry, where's the chat? I want to go back to the chat. There it is. There we go. Let's go here. Hey, Olivio, I'm a little bit late, but super topic. Thank you very much, Simon. Did I miss anything, any comments? If I missed something, please just write it again. Daniela says, lol, I'm going through my 60-year-old crisis. Oh, yeah, okay. I think we always have kind of a crisis. Like, it's kind of normal. We always question our life and try to figure out where we are, who we are. And I think we always have an inner picture of who we like to be, and then an outer a person of who we actually are, and there's often a little bit of a fight, a little bit of a difference there, and if the difference becomes too big, that's really bad. Like, try to keep the difference small, right? Mostly by shaving off expectations, I think. Anyways, Jonathan says, I'm having midlife crisis every 2 or 3 years since I'm 20. Usually I get a new camera, a leather sewing machine to keep me busy. Interesting. Okay. I understand where you're coming from. And I think that's kind of normal, but I kind of have that, not in a 2 or 3 year cycle, but more in a 6 to 8 month cycle where I say, hey, I want to go, and then I start to do all the things like writing poetry, reading books, making music, making sports, going outside, and then I'm overwhelmed that I'm getting lazy. Then I have my low. It's kind of this wave of high productivity and creativity, and then it goes low into this kind of valley of, okay, it doesn't make sense. It's all too much, because I'm overdoing it. So maybe find a middle ground. I'm actually getting better at finding that middle ground. around. And figuring out who we are. I think it's also a good process in photography. Maybe you can use photography for that, to figure out who you are. Yeah. And see it that way, right? And there's so many questions, right? There's also this kind of element of FOMO. I'm not sure if you have heard of that. It's the fear of missing out. And I think we have today a lot of mediums set up for that, photography especially set up for that, because it shows us life situations, ideal states of being that have never been real but are presented to us as if they are real. So you always feel like you're missing out on something, on the fun that people have, on the success that people have, on the journeys that people do in their lives physically but also mentally. So yeah, this is also why people say social media has a bad influence and Instagram should mark the pictures and stuff like that, because we haven't yet learned to handle these things in a well enough way. I guess the next generation will be a lot better at that and just ignoring that stuff. Yeah, but for us, of course, it's still a lot of pressure, right? So it's good to shut that a little bit down and ask yourself, do I actually need that stuff? Do I actually have to do this and that to be happy? Or does happiness come from somewhere else? From something else, right? Photography can help with you. Can help you with that. Sorry, my wow. Now I'm starting to stop to be able to talk. Hey, wow, I have talked for 2 hours. That was a very intense stream. Wow, this was like a workout, to be honest. But I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it too. This was no photo editing at all this time, but more of a process. Excellent word, FOMO, fear of missing out. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't help to our self-esteem at all. Yeah, it's a big part of being alive today, is this kind of thing where we just stuck in that loop of seeing people do cool stuff, and then we think like, oh, we should do that too. I think, I'm not sure, was it different in the past? I need to ask my mother how or I can also ask you. I think there is in my audience there's a lot of people who are older than I am. In your time when you were young, or like through your life, have you been as pushed to do other things than you normally do by all these people who have done them in your time? Because we always had adventurers that ventured out into the world, did amazing things. We always had movie stars, we had models, we had singers and artists. Everything was around, not in as visual way as today. And of course, the big difference today is these were basically certified adventurers, certified stars, while today every kind of Chill and Joe can open up a social media account and become famous through that. So it feels a lot closer to home when someone who looks very usual does amazing things, and you're like, what did I do with my life, right? Because this is just another guy in his sweatpants, but he is on, I don't know. He's in India doing crazy parties or whatever, and I'm sitting here and I'm watching Netflix. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's part of that. Let's go back to photography, by the way. Oh God, I'm really enjoying this live stream, by the way. I hope you do too. All right. By the way, I'm gonna sleep terribly because I. Why do I always, when I stream, drink such a huge mug of coffee? And usually I have another one before that because I don't want to get tired through the stream. Let's look at other photos here. By the way, suggest other photographers if you want to. You can do that, no problem. Let's go back here. And I mean, let's have a look at this photo here. There's a lot of photography like this. Which is more this kind of, I would call it found photography. Do you know what I mean by that? It's not a picture that is specifically constructed like this picture here or this picture here. It's more a photo that is happening. I don't want to call it a snapshot because that sounds too negative. See snapshot as a positive way. You found a situation, you discovered something, and you made a photo of that. This is what I mean. This is what I mean by found, like a situation that actually is there. And there's a lot of photography like that. I can't remember the name of the photographers. One photographer is really famous for that. And that's a very different approach, I feel like, because it's so... do you know that feeling when you look at the picture and it feels very unfiltered? It feels like that the subject can kind of touch you because it's so like unfiltered real, right? I can't really describe it. I wish I could remember what the name of the photographer is right now. Check out the work of Bob Carlson Clark. That is an amazing name. He has, the combination, a lot of like famous names just in one name. Oh, interesting. What is this? Let's check this out. Is there any? Oh, no. No, I can't because there is also nudity in there. There's a lot of like erotic photography in that. I can't show that. I'm sorry. You have to suggest something else. What is this picture? Wait, I have to show this. This picture was done before that famous logo or afterwards? Because that is that logo, right? It kind of looks like that. Anyways, I think there's also kind of a fight over that logo, who invented it. And I think it was about a photographer. Maybe this is the photo in question. I'm not quite sure. But he has a lot of erotic stuff, so I can't show that. I'm sorry. You have to suggest someone else. But we can go to, let's go here, famous photographers. This the guy? No. Let me see here. Let's open this up here. Robert Capa, but this is like super old school. Like this is from another time. A lot of these are old photographers, which is kind of interesting. That when you enter, oh, this is Robert Capa here. Because I clicked on it. If you enter famous photographers, you have a lot of these older photographers rather than newer photographers. Really interesting. Because if you enter, I guess if you enter famous musicians, you don't get like people from, what is it here? Like 1937, stuff like that, right? That's interesting. This is also what I mean. Like photography didn't go through an extreme phase as other mediums did. Like arts in general, like painting, for example. But I think also movies went through a very abstract stage. And I'm kind of missing that in photography. It didn't remove itself enough from the medium, right? This is a little of my struggle with that. Maybe I should do that. I don't know. Maybe later in life I should do that. Is it just Edward Muybridge over here? Like, why? Why is he here? Of course he's a famous photographer, but shouldn't we have other people? William Eggleston, is that this guy? Maybe. This might be the guy. Yeah, I think that's the guy. Look at that. You have these pictures, and they have this kind of immediacy. They have this kind of directness. It kind of almost punches you in the face with how like unfiltered real that picture is, right? It doesn't do a dance for you. It's just there. It's kind of very strange in a certain way. He has some other pictures that punch you in the face by how constructed they are, but often he's photographing stuff where you're like, when you are there, and this is, by the way, this is an interesting part about that. If you would take such a picture today, people would look at you and be like, what is that? Why did you photograph some trash on a car? Because you have to imagine at this day and age when he took that photo, these cars have been super normal. So this is nothing special. Today it looks like, oh, vintage, look at that, the golden age, blah, the cool cars with the fins and everything, Elvis Presley, oh, cool, wow, wow, wow. But in his day it was like, nah, it's just another car parked there at the street. So yeah, that is like time. I think time made it it made it more impressive than the photo in itself is. Because I think if you would look at it at the time when the photo was taken, you would be rather unimpressed by the picture because you see that every day, but now you don't. And because it's removed from the time, but still so real that you can almost touch it, that is what makes his work interesting, at least for me. In this case, it doesn't even have to be larger than life. It is. I mean, at the same time, you have to admit that his photography has a very distinct and artful composition. It's not just a snapshot. Yeah, that's very like not just a found photo, right? It's very constructed in a way of taking the shot in a good way, in a very nice composition. And also, of course, you see here, very nice color combination, stuff like that. So, yeah. And I think the combination of this with it being removed from time, so it is for us kind of strange to look at it, makes it such an impressive moment and feeling. And when you, for example, if you compare this, it's a normal scene, but fairly abstract at the same time. You can see a certain connection between this and a photo like this, for example. Look at that. You see, with this kind of abstraction and composition here and stuff like that. Do you see the similarity between these two shots? And I'm not just talking about the color. My browser is really killing me today with this kind of jumpiness. Okay, let's just do it like this. Whoa, this is the wrong window. Sorry. This is the first time in my life I think that I'm kind of defeated by technology. This feels awful. There we go. So you have this picture here, and then you have this picture here, and you can feel kind of a connectedness. Of course, this is very abstract and removed and a studio shot, and this is out there in the world, but also very constructed, but also very clean at the same time, right? And this is also what I find interesting about his photos is now I'm lost the photos of him. Are you kidding me right now? What is going on? Ecclestone photography. There we go. When you look at his pictures, all of them, maybe let's say this is what I learned in like school is don't never ever say all of them, say most of them, because all of them can be every time disproved. Most of them are very clean. Look at that. Very clean picture. Very clean picture. Very clean picture, right? Very abstract, very clean, very reduced, but at the same time kind of a found image. So now the other picture is missing. I'm going nuts today here. This one. Okay. You see how clean this picture is, how removed and clean this picture is, and how removed and clean this picture is, right? So there's kind of a similarity there. He's not just taking pictures of stuff just because it looks good. It's not a snapshot of stuff that's happening, right? Not in the sense of this kind of idea you have from street photography where you just like snap something that looks cool because it's there and it lives through the kind of a little bit of a circus of reality of how odd or interesting it is you look at that street photo. This is very defined and constructed and very, like, you see the strong composition here. She's standing in the middle of the picture. He's standing in the middle of the picture, right? The girl before is standing in the middle of the picture, right? This one here. So there's a lot of very controlled elements in his photos. And you can also see how clean everything around is. It's not disturbing. This is not kind of a family photo you would take on the side. This is very precisely, that is the woman. All the elements are going towards her. And yeah, it looks like a snap, but it's not a snap, right? So that's really interesting. This element of very much control, but at the same time being so real and unfiltered that it kind of hits you in the face, right? That's really interesting. It reminds me of that author that I can't remember right now. Most famous American author, who is he? He's always like writing about drunks and people who do, I don't know, go to the races and what the hell is this? What is going on here? That's an amazing picture. Okay, this is more like this circus kind of street photography thing that lives through, okay, something strange happened. So I feel this is very different from that, right? Or from this here. There something is happening where like, what? And this is like, okay, interesting composition. Anyways, let me know. I closed the stream. I closed the chat. By the way, we're already over 2 minutes. Check out the website Nigel Danson, for example, A Passage in Time. Let me check that out. Have a look at Sean Tucker. I love his work in black and white. Sean Tucker. Let's look at Sean Tucker first. Let me check that. Sean Tucker. Photography. 1 second. Oh, okay. Interesting. Is he a modern photographer? Is this him? Oh, that's him. Wait, but is then that this is probably one of his pictures. Wait, let me see. Sean Tucker photography. Does he have a website? Yes, he does. Let's check this out. Oh. Even with video. All right. Oh, okay. Interesting. Is this what he mainly does? Portraits? Oh no, he does other stuff. Street photography. And Instagram is his own category. Is this a link to Instagram or is this Instagram photography? Let's find out. What could it be? Is it specific Instagram photography? Let's check this. Oh no, it's a link to Instagram. I thought this is his own category of I made these photos specifically for Instagram. That would have been cool. Interesting. All right. Okay. Also nice. Very different though. But you can see how this is different from, like I said before, like a painting. You would not find anything like this stuff here as a painting normally. So this is more like this, much more modern reference to what we understand as being an image. It has a little bit of a documentation like kind of element from especially this one here. It has kind of this. It feels more like a documentation picture, right? Although the composition is nice too. Interesting. There's a lot of dynamic. Also, you can see here with the angles, lots of diagonal angles in his pictures, which bring a lot of dynamic in. You can see here the lines, not so static. Interesting. And you can see also in a lot of these pictures this kind of concept of modern photography and also modern photography school, where they teach you, structure and shadows. Learn about that, right? Composition, light, and composition, structure, shadows, and then figure that out and make nice photos with that. You see a lot of that in here, right? And also in this kind of picture here, right? You wouldn't see that in a painting. Like, you wouldn't paint like that because people would be, like, a painter would be kind of confused why he should pay a special attention or paint why as a painter would you paint a shadow for the sake of being an interesting shadow? You wouldn't do that. It was kind of doesn't really make sense. But as a photography, it makes sense because it has kind of a rarity to find that. And then at the same time, you can make a nice, interesting composition with that, right? So there is this kind of element of you had to be there at the exact moment to be able to do that, which of course in a painting you don't have. And so this is not a competition in painting who can paint the most interesting shadow into the structure of a picture, right? But photography has that. And so this is how modern photography is removed and it's based on different like roots than photography before that had the root in classic painting and often was created looking like classic painting, right? So it's an interesting thing here. Yeah. Also interesting. I wish, I wonder if this cigarette pack here has any relevance to the image, or if it just was there and he didn't remove it to keep it real, basically, right? Does it have any relation to that guy? I like these moments when there is something in the picture and you're like, is it trash or is it art? I can't define it at that moment. It might be purposeful and then art in that sense because it is related to that guy. Maybe he quit smoking, stuff like that, or maybe it's not, and it's just a piece of trash, right? But it adds a little bit of visual flair to the picture, right? Interesting, right? Huh. Wow. I guess he's probably later than Ecclestone, right? From the photo. You can see how this is different. I mean, of course, you can also see it from how the people are dressed, and this guy has some earphones in there, and he has a smartphone. So this is, of course, not from that time. Not that time, but you know what I mean, that time here. Right, so interesting. Let's go to the chat. I forgot about the chat, sorry. Monologue time again? There we go, let's check that out. There's a lot of names here. Let's go to Nigel Danson next. Let's check that out real quick. I have to open it in my second window just to make sure there isn't some kind of, account canceling quality kind of stuff. What is this? No, I forgot. I wanted to show you the pictures. I printed my pictures. I forgot that. Should we do this now? I forgot about that. Now it's the end of the stream. Maybe I do it in one of my videos. Okay. I can show... No, I'm not showing it now. Did I show it last time? I don't think I did. Oh, this is the kind of photography. Do you know who Peter Lick is? This completely reminds me of Peter Lick. This is this kind of photography that I would say is specifically made to be printed and then put in on a wall somewhere. It's kind of this hyper aesthetic capturing of nature. Do you know what I mean? Like it's kind of a mix between a very nice photography and something that is like a very nice romantic, almost romantic painting. It has kind of a romantic quality. It's a little bit larger than life in the sense of classic art, classic painting, but at the same time it's a photography and it's very cozy to look at the same time. This is what that is, I think, from what I'm seeing right here. And of course you can order these prints here probably for pretty amazing prices. Let's check this out. Oh, 345. That's almost okay. That's okay, I would say. That's okay. I mean, if you think about how much a print in that size costs, and then he has to earn something too, and you had to take that picture, it's actually a good price, to be honest. Edition of 50. Oh, and it's limited too. Wow, how much is this one? There's only 5 prints of this in A1, and one costs $500. That's very affordable, to be honest, for a limited edition of 5. If he never prints it again. That's a given for that. If he never prints it again, that's a very reasonable price, to be honest. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, that's very Peter Lick-like. Pretty cool. I like that. I really like that. These are all these kind of masters of the craft who at the same time do very nice, cozy pictures. That's a very nice combination of these two elements, right? And you can also see when you look at the picture, this is not pushing any envelopes, right? This is not pushing any kind of visual languages or any kind of thing. This fits completely into that. This is kind of like David Cameron style Titanic. I present to you a movie that is amazingly watchable and you will be like just in love with the movie kind of art. You know what I mean? Pretty cool. I like it. I really enjoy that. Very, very nice. Really cool. Thank you for that. Pretty cool. Let's check out some other stuff here. And then we have to end the stream because it's already pretty seen. Yes. He's a YouTuber, really? Who's a YouTuber? Oh, check. Oh, let's see what a YouTuber photographs. If it's burning roses, a young girl holding burning roses, I'm jumping. No, it's not. Is that the YouTube guy? Because that's a social media thing of, I don't know. Did you mean him? Check Kerouac? Kerouac? I don't know what his name, how to pronounce that. He's the YouTuber, or who is a YouTuber? I don't know. Which one you mean? I'm not sure. Oh, there's this other guy. What is his name? Let me see here. TikTok photographer. I cannot stand the stuff he's doing. It's so lame. I want to cry when I see that stuff. What's his name? And he has this kind of posing thing where he films himself when he's photographed, because he's kind of the photographer model at the same time, although someone else takes the picture. And then he films it, but then you see the picture, and the picture is completely not what happened in front of the camera. So it's very, very improved to what he filmed at that moment. So very, very strange. I can't find it right now. This kind of burning roses kind of... is it this guy? No, it's not that guy, but it's very similar to that stuff. Is it that guy? One second. No, it's not. Maybe I shouldn't show anything from that. Is it? Where's that? I wish I could show that, kind of. So there's also photography I don't like. Oh, this kind of crap here. This kind of overdone kind of, oh, look, I want you to applaud me. I take this photo because I need your praise. So I burn a newspaper and make a completely expected photography, but it looks good. Kind of bleh. I don't know. This is photography that is just created for the clicks. This is like stunt food. By the way, Google stunt food if you don't know what that is. Stunt food is food that is also just created for social media, or like 5 Minutes Craft, or these channels who create crafting projects that absolutely don't work, but they create clicks. That's the only purpose why they are created, is to make clicks and then make money through the clicks. Only reason why to do that. And this is the kind of thing, the similar kind of thing. I was actually pondering about, should I do stuff like that because it gets attention, but I was like, no, I'm not thinking to that level. That's kind of bottom of the barrel. By the way, if you like to do stuff like that, I'm not saying that's bad in itself if you do it for fun. If you do it for clicks, on the other hand, and you just suck up to your audience, that is not great. If you do this for fun, absolutely do that if you enjoy that. But if you sell yourself and your soul just to get you a couple of clicks more, that's kind of, nah, don't do that. I don't know. I don't like that. Anyways, there we go. Enough bad talk here. We want to have good vibes in my stream. If you ever listen to Sean Tucker, he is a source for inspiration. Sean Tucker? Oh, the YouTube guy. So the YouTube guy is Sean Tucker. Let me check that out on YouTube. Sean Tucker. Finding your next photo project. Oh, okay. Interesting. So he talks about photography. I should check him out. Maybe you should check him out too. So this is the channel. I guess he's good. I think this is what the photos we saw before. So if you like that kind of photography, check out his channel. He's talking about that a lot. Because I want to do videos about photography, and I still have to find a good way to do that. I think the videos I've created so far about photography are not bad, but they could be better. I'm very much in a learning process on how to talk about that and how to share my experience on how I photograph, how I analyze a picture, stuff like that, to give you some hints, to give you some pointers, right? So I will check that out. Let me subscribe to that first, and then also bookmark that here so I can find that later. Add to bookmarks. Yes, please. Okay, good. All right. I kind of think that's it for today. Let's switch over to here. Not to that, sorry. Here we go. If you haven't joined my Facebook group, please do. It's a really, really great group. Very awesome community with thousands upon thousands of really, really nice and helpful members. Check that out. Here's the Facebook group. Boom, if you want to join, if you haven't already. So yeah, I would say that's it for today. It was a lot to take in to discuss. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed that live stream, if you want to have more live streams like that. Also, please leave a like because it always helps my channel and the videos. Okay, and that's it. I really enjoyed that live stream, to be honest. It was really, really cool. Okay, and also, by the way, check out the Black Friday deal. This one here. Check that out. The best deal that I've done so far, and probably also the last one that is that huge and that low from the prices. So really, really go and check that out and get that bundle, because you basically get everything I've created so far. Not all of it, but almost all of it. So yeah, really, really good. Okay, thank you very much. Let me switch over here to the big screen so I can say goodbye. Talk live. There we go. Thank you very much, my friends. It was a pleasure to talk with you, to talk to you, and see you in my next live stream, and also tutorials in the Facebook group. Everywhere we can see each other and you can watch me do my stuff. Thank you very much and see you soon. Bye.